Hello, my YouTube family. I hope you all had a blessed day. The aim of this program is to make you aware of the types of contributions made by Black people throughout our history. So many books have been written by the winners of wars depicting their stories. I think it is time for our story to be told. I encourage all of you to research for yourselves and learn the true history of our people. Teachers, you can use these videos to teach lessons in your Black History class. Students, when you're thinking about doing a report for Black History Month, come to our channel, go through the library of videos, and pick one of the people that we highlight. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Let's get familiar. In today's episode, we take a look at the story of Black Wall Street. On June 1st, 1921, America experienced the deadliest race riot in the small town of Tulsa, Oklahoma. 94 years later, that neighborhood is still recognized as one of the most prosperous African-American towns to date. With hundreds of successful Black-owned businesses lining Greenwood Avenue, it became a standard that African Americans are still trying to rebuild. Known as Black Wall Street, this was one of the most successful and wealthiest African American communities in the United States. The community was completely self-sufficient and became the home of many Black multimillionaire entrepreneurs. With this growth and success came envy from white Tulsans. Many of the businesses in Greenwood, which they refer to as Little Africa, were more prosperous than those in white communities. On May 30th, 1921, Dick Rowland, a 19-year-old shoe shiner at a Main Street parlor, took the elevator at a nearby building to use the restroom. At the time, the white elevator operator on duty was 17-year-old Sarah Page. What happened while the two were in the elevator remains unclear. Yet, it resulted in Page accusing Rowland of sexual assault. Although she never pressed charges, the damage was done. On May 31st, 1921, the Tulsa Tribune reported that a Black man, Dick Rowland, attempted to rape a white woman, Sarah Page. Whites in the area refused to wait for the investigative process to play out, sparking 2 days of unprecedented racial violence. As a result of the Tulsa Tribune's racially inflammatory report, angry white men stormed into Greenwood armed with guns, some provided by local officers who also participated in the riot. Scuffles broke out and shots were fired. Hundreds of businesses and homes were ransacked and set afire. Countless families began to flee after being trapped between rampant flames and gunfire. Black men, some who served in World War I defending the United States, rallied together and armed themselves, ready to fight for their families and community. Whites indiscriminately shot and killed men, women, and children on foot and by car. As the number of casualties on both sides escalated, airplanes used in World War I was dispatched, firing rifles at residents and dropping firebombs on the Black community. By the end of the attack, close to 300 Blacks were murdered, 800 were injured, and approximately 9,000 were left homeless and held in internment camps by local law enforcement. 35 city blocks went up in flames. Defense of white female virtue was the expressed motivation for collective racial violence. This can only be characterized as terrorism. If any country had done this on American soil, it would be considered terrorism and an act of war. Based on my personal experiences and the experiences of many around the country, the hatred for black people has not changed much since 1921. So, let's take a look at the origin story of where Black Wall Street came from. Black Wall Street, a modern, majestic, sophisticated, and unapologetically black community boasted of banks, hotels, cafes, clothing stores, movie theaters, and contemporary homes, not to mention luxuries such as indoor plumbing and a superior school system that educated black children. In the early 1900s, Tulsa, Oklahoma experienced a major oil boom, attracting thousands. Many African Americans migrated from southern states hoping to escape the harsh racial tensions while profiting off of the oil industry. Yet even in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jim Crow laws were at large, causing the town to be vastly segregated, with most African Americans settling in the northern section of the town. From that segregation grew a black entrepreneurial mecca that would affectionately be called Black Wall Street. The town was established in 1906 by entrepreneur O.W. Gurley, a wealthy African American from Arkansas. He moved to Tulsa and purchased over 40 acres of land that he made sure was only sold to other African Americans. By 1921, there were over 11,000 residents and hundreds of prosperous businesses, all owned and operated by black Tulsans and patronized by both whites and blacks. The average income of black families in the area exceeded what minimum wage is today. As a result of segregation, a dollar circulated 36 to 100 times and remained in Greenwood almost a year before leaving the community. Even more impressive, at that time, the state of Oklahoma only had 2 airports, yet 6 black families owned their own planes. Undoubtedly, less fortunate white neighbors resented their upper-class lifestyle. As a result of a jealous desire to put progressive, high-achieving African Americans in their place, a wave of domestic white terrorism caused black dispossession. Within 5 years after the riot, surviving residents who chose to remain in Tulsa rebuilt much of the district. They accomplished this despite the opposition of many white Tulsa political and business leaders. By 1942, remaining black Tulsans rebuilt Greenwood without any assistance from the state and saw a resurgence of over 240 businesses. It resumed being a vital black community until segregation was overturned by the federal government during the 1950s and 60s. Desegregation encouraged blacks to live and shop elsewhere in the city, causing Greenwood to lose much of its original vitality. Since then, city leaders have attempted to encourage other economic development activity nearby. There are those who say black people are lazy or we do not have the ambition to better ourselves. They say our communities are poor and say we do not deserve a chance because we waste opportunities. Here's a clear example of us doing exactly what you always say and built up a community in which we did not need to lean on you for anything. Once again, a lie gave angry white people an excuse to attack black people and tear down what we built up. So many people say, get over it, forget about it, it happened so long ago, no one alive today was alive back then. None of that matters because when all the other disasters took place, all the other terrorism took place to all other minority groups, they're allowed to remember, and they're allowed to think about their ancestors. So why are you preventing us from paying homage to ours? Next week, Monday, we will continue to spotlight contributions made by Black people throughout history. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this valuable information with your loved ones. Click the notification bell so you will be notified when we upload new videos. Find the Awakening Frequency on Twitter and Instagram, and also Facebook. Again, researching is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are the Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.